For nearly 30 years, Comics Connection has served as central Pennsylvania's pop culture mecca, with locations in York and Mechanicsburg. But now, you don't have to live in Pennsylvania to shop there. The brand new Comics Connection online store features a wide variety of back issues, graphic novels, games, and much more. Find out why thousands of customers, including such celebrities as Mike Hawthorne, J.F. Gonzalez, Mary Sangiovanni, and Brian Keene, have made Comics Connection their #1 store to shop at over the years. Check out the new online store at comicsconnection.com. That's COMIX connection.com.
Excelsior, true believers! You are about to embark upon a journey, a trip to the 70s and 80s when mighty Marvel Comics ruled over all. The Defenders, Doctor Strange, the Champions, Deathlock, the Submariner, the Incredible Hulk, Killraven, the Son of Satan, the Macabre Man-Thing, and all your other Bronze Age favorites every week, appearing on Defenders Dialogue. Now here are your guides, Christopher Golden and Brian Keene.
That's right, true believer.
Go ahead, what's that?
Okay, another episode of Defenders Dialogue. I'm Brian Keene.
And I'm Christopher Golden. And Brian, I have to say, I don't want to just say another episode of Defenders Dialogue.
Okay.
We could say yet another extraordinary episode of Defenders Dialogue. I don't want people to think that, it's just another episode, because every episode we record is a special episode.
That's right. And every episode we record may or may not be beset by technical problems. I suspect today's will be. Chris, I am in the process of setting up a new office, new recording studio, and the room that I'm in recording this today is not yet soundproofed. So listeners may hear trucks rumbling by in the background. They may hear bikers coming through. They may hear a boat out on the river or a flock of geese. I apologize in advance.
Well, I actually like that. I mean, I think it adds a certain ambiance. It also makes it seem like you're pretending to be home when you're actually somewhere plotting the overthrow of the government.
Where did that come from?
It comes from knowing Brian Keene for a very long time.
If I was going to overthrow the government, don't you think I would have done it in the past 4 years?
Yes, that's true. That's true. I also would like to think, Brian, that if you were going to do that, you would at least invite me to take part.
I would invite you to take part.
I would really feel hurt if you didn't.
Yep. I would invite you to take part, and I would probably gloat over our enemies the way Avengers 155 opens with Dr. Doom standing over a defeated Iron Man, while the assembled Avengers and the folks from Hydrobase look on in shock and horror.
Yeah, we're doing something we've never done on this show today. This is an all Avengers episode, even though we are in the run of Supervillain Team Up. In order to appropriately cover that series, we're doing Avengers 155 and 156, and which, Brian, I will say, like our last episode in which we talked about how many characters and plot threads that they were able to jam into this story, and how it all workable Dr. Doom has ever seemed to me.
For this era. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I will always have a fondness in my heart for Marvel's original Secret Wars, when Doom not only outwits all the superheroes and all the supervillains, but outwits God himself. That is prime Doom to me. But yeah, I love the characterization of Dr. Doom that Jerry Conway does here in these two issues of the Avengers.
Yeah. Well, so we should say in 155 this is. In 155, yep. It's written by Jerry Conway, and the art is from George Perez and Pablo Marcus. And also, just again, if you want to see the classic Bronze Age renderings of these characters, that's what you're getting in these issues.
Yep, exactly.
So we open, sort of with another recap, as each of these issues tends to do.
Basically, it's Doom and Hydrobase versus the Avengers. And, what Perez does here with the page layout's fantastic, because you get an actual battle taking place with the recap panels in the middle. I know that doesn't make sense to the listeners. I will actually screen cap this and include it on this episode when it airs on YouTube.
Yeah. And so also it's cool for me to see Namorita in action here, because, in this era, this was probably my only exposure to her, because I didn't read the Submariner title in those days. And so it's interesting for me to see this character, because other than this, I think I only knew her later from New Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. So while that's taking place, basically the Hydrobase characters make short work of the Avengers. They clean their clocks. And, Dr. Doom stares down at his defeated assailants. And then he's so smug. He's spying on Namor, and he says to Namorita, "Were I not a modest man, I might take full credit for our victory, Namorita, but clearly you and your friends from Hydrobase were of some small assistance."
Yeah. And so, and he says, "So was Namor." And Namorita says, "My cousin is miles away." And, Doom says, "Don't you see, girl, the Avengers came here to find Namor for whatever reason." Now, we know the reason is that the Avengers have their control collars on, control collars that Attuma has attached to them to make them his slaves. And of course, that is the reason the Avengers were made such short work of by Dr. Doom and the Hydrobase folks. But then Doom gets the story out of Captain America. So the whole plan, this is just such I don't want to say convoluted, because that implies it's difficult to follow. It's a complex plot.
It's a very complex
with many
plot.
Moving pieces. And among those moving pieces, Brian, are the Wizard, Wonder Man, and the Beast, who are, let's call them Team B in this story.
Okay, that works.
We also get, I guess Team B for Beast. We also then get a recap of who Wonder Man is, and the history of that character,
which we covered last episode. If you missed it, then tune back in, because we're not covering it again.
Yeah, well, all we could say is Wonder Man is a guy named Simon Williams who, once upon a time was sent by Ultron against the Avengers. He died, but now he's been resurrected as a hero.
That's right.
And I think it's important for this episode that we remind people that the Vision's mind is basically a copy of Simon Williams' psyche. So, there we go.
Yeah, we go back to Hydrobase, and Tamara has the Avengers, and we should recap. This team of Avengers consists of Captain America, Iron Man, Yellow Jacket and the Wasp, and Vision and the Scarlet Witch.
Right. Who were at this time married.
Yeah. She has them, stretched out on some kind of laboratory table as prisoners, and, she's still marveling over the Vision. You have to remember, Tamara is this red-skinned alien. The rest of her people were wiped out in a back issue of Submariner. So she thinks she's alone on Earth, but she's fascinated by the Vision because his skin is red like hers. And, she's wondering, is this coincidence, or might he be a survivor of the disaster which destroyed her people?
Right. And I will say, too, that this storyline that we've been covering is the first time I was exposed to that character, because she also is a character from the Submariner series.
Right.
In any case, she leaves the room, leaving the 6 bound Avengers. Wanda has an injured arm, and I'm so amused in these 2 issues at the fact that because she can only use one hand instead of 2, her power is halved. It's just like, ooh, that is a strange logic. But in any case, she's able to use enough of her hex magic to summon Captain America's shield and cause it to fly into Captain America's hand. And then Cap himself is able to use the shield, Brian, from a prone, bound position to fling it like a frisbee, so that it bounces off the ceiling and then smashes into the Vision's bonds. I can't even speak today. And the Vision is free, Brian.
That's right.
Free to help his fellow Avengers, which he doesn't do.
No, he doesn't. His slave collar is broken. You would think that the first thing he would do is free the others. But no, he just phases through the ceiling and flies away.
Yeah, and Iron Man says, Wanda, I hope to heaven I'm wrong, but I think your husband just abandoned us. We leave the Scarlet Witch to mull that over. And then we see, Brian, you have to admit that these, Perez drawing the Submariner. I don't even mind the Submariner in his panties. I know you prefer the panties Submariner to the one with an actual costume. But I don't even mind the panties Submariner when it's drawn like this.
No, it's amazing artwork. Perez is always going to be perhaps most well known for his work at DC, particularly the new Teen Titans and Wonder Woman.
Right.
But you go back to these early Bronze Age Marvels when he wasn't at the height of his popularity yet. There's just some amazing line work here. And this panel of Submariner is one of them. This is Namor enraged. He's free of Doctor Doom. He's free of everything. And he is out for blood with Attuma.
Yeah, and I'm mad that he's not screaming Imperious Rex here, but that's okay. Yes. So let's see here. I read the second issue that we're covering today this morning.
Right.
The other one I read last week. So,
basically to recap for folks, because we talked about this last week in Supervillain Team Up issue 9, Attuma is off the coast of Maryland, where there is an undersea research lab. What they're experimenting with there is growing plankton 100-fold so they can triple the world's food supply. And they've succeeded. They can end starvation in the world, except that is the exact moment that Attuma and his army show up.
Oh, Attuma. You fool, Attuma. Attuma attacks. They break in and they think that they're in good shape. But then Team B arrives unexpectedly, Brian. The moments ago recovered from a heart attack whizzer smashes through Attuma's forces. And then he's joined by the bouncing, blue-eyed, blue-furred beast. I can't remember what all of the appellations were that the Beast used in this era.
There were a lot of them.
And of course, Wonder Man. And Wonder Man, again, like rereading this story, I'd forgotten how strong Wonder Man actually was.
Yeah.
Because later, he becomes such a cipher of a character later on, in more modern comics when he's in his like red jacket and sunglasses.
Right.
That he was much cooler here, I think.
I agree.
So anyway, they fight. I should note that Attuma has stolen the Vision's cloak and is wearing it, which I think
Right.
I just liked the. Attuma's like, yeah, I like that. It matches my outfit. I'm going to take the Vision's cloak. I think it's sexy.
So yeah, it's a standoff. The Team B and Attuma's forces are head to head, and then one of Attuma's soldiers says, "Hey, look, some guy flying this way," and even the Beast is surprised. He says, "Jumping Jolly Jehoshaphat, it's the Submariner."
Yeah, and of course, Attuma sees him coming. Now, Attuma had been facing off against Team B. And he's like, "Oh, wait, I'm smarter than these bucks." And he shouts really loud. I feel like, "Look, a falling star." No, he says, "Come, my friends, our common enemy draws near. Kill Namor now." So that Namor thinks. Let's go ahead.
Yeah, this is ingenious. I mean, this is fucking brilliant. Perhaps one of Jerry Conway's best script moments ever in a long, platinum career of great comic moments.
Yeah.
I mean, you've never seen a supervillain do this. He psychs out Namor and makes him think that the Avengers are with, and Namor doesn't know these new Avengers. Right. He says, "So Attuma has found new allies, 2 costumed humans and a talking blue ape."
I've been called that.
You have.
So the Submariner attacks. He immediately takes out all 3 of them. But of course, Wonder Man is not so easily defeated. And he gets up and he punches Namor basically into next week. But Namor, of course, being the Submariner, he returns. The fight goes on. The Wizard and Beast have the opportunity to get back into the fight. Attuma escapes, but the Beast jumps off the ship into the water to pursue Attuma. And that's the last we see of him at this point, is underwater swimming after Attuma's vessel.
Yep. Meanwhile, Namor fighting the Wizard. Namor actually thinks that the Wizard is Quicksilver.
Right.
And he points out, you're a lot slower than when we last met.
Right. But then, of course, Namor recognizes him. "You're Robert Frank the Wizard, member of the old Liberty Legion." And the Wizard's like, "Yeah, you're right, dumbass." But then, of course, in the moment Namor is distracted, Wonder Man attacks, smashes Namor into a wall, and then knocks him out with another punch. And again, we'll go back to this. Namor is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe physically.
Right.
And Wonder Man knocks him out. So these are, I always love moments like this because as a kid we'd have those arguments, right, Brian? Like, who's stronger? Who would win in a fight? This character or this character?
All the time.
And when one of the people in the conversation was the Hulk, the answer was always the Hulk because the madder Hulk gets, the stronger Hulk gets. Right? So ostensibly he is stronger than anyone if you just piss him off enough. But
I would argue, except the Juggernaut.
I don't know. You think that Juggernaut is? I'm going to get into it right now. I'm throwing down. You think Juggernaut?
No, excuse me, not the Juggernaut. What is his name? It's another evil mutant. Unus the Untouchable or whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hulk has never, to the best of my knowledge, Hulk has never actually defeated him. He's moved him.
Right.
But he's never defeated him.
And that's because basically you hit Unus the Untouchable and the same force comes back at you, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, but then the Hulk is just going to get stronger and madder.
And Unus is going to throw that much more back on him. But we are off in the weeds.
No. We have to finish this argument. You see, if the Hulk keeps pounding him with greater and greater strength, eventually, because Unus's power is a mutant power and it's basically a psionic power, I think that he will become so mentally exhausted that he will pass out. And that would never happen to the Hulk.
All right, I will give you a no prize for that. Although, as we've covered on this show, when the Hulk is relaxed and worn out, he transforms back into Banner. as happened during Keith Giffen and J.M. DeMatteis's run on the Defenders when they got the Hulk laid.
Yeah, but that would never happen while the Hulk was angry. See?
All right.
Like, unlike some people, the Hulk never has angry sex.
We're not allowed to tell that story on the air, Chris.
Anyway. All right.
Meanwhile, somewhere in the North Atlantic.
Yeah.
Attuma's warcraft is underwater, and we see the Beast has stowed away on board.
Yes, he has somehow snuck aboard Attuma's craft. And then the second epilogue, somewhere in Hydrobase, the Vision phases through a wall only to encounter an armed Dr. Doom waiting for him. And
That's
threatening
right.
to kill him. And we switch over to Avengers 156.
That's right.
And again, these covers are great. You know, that cover for Avengers 156 is phenomenal.
Absolutely, it is. Sorry, I'm pulling mine out of the plastic right now. Yeah.
Well, it's written by.
that-
Here's the interesting thing about this one: the plot of 156 is by Jerry Conway, but the script is by Jim Shooter.
Right.
And the art is from Sal Buscema, which makes you happy.
Makes me super happy.
Pablo Marcus, and also I wish I could. We should figure out what year this was written, because I'd like to know how old Shooter was at the time that this came out.
He was not yet editor, correct?
No, he wasn't editor yet.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess this is shortly after he came over from DC.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd be curious about that as well. You know, you brought up Sal Buscema. I have a quick aside, and we took time for your Hulk versus Unus aside, so we can take time for this. So you and I visited our mutual friend Joe Hill earlier this year.
We did.
So we were at Joe's house, and then I was at your house, and both you and Joe have some amazing original comic artwork hanging on your walls. Now, I have a comic book collection that'll rival you both, but I don't have any original artwork, and I was so taken and so struck by what both of you had on your walls. I decided, you know what? I want to start collecting original artwork. So I reached out to my buddy Bill Wall at Comics Connection, and I said, hey, you know, I know you guys don't sell original artwork, but if you find me some, I'll give you a 15% finder's fee. And he says, okay, what are you looking for? I said, I would love Sal Buscema on Defenders, specifically issue 33, you know, with the headmen, but whatever you can find. And he said, all right, but it's going to be expensive. And I thought, oh, expensive, you know, what, $500? The cheapest he's found me is $5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000. That's the cheapest. There are other Buscema pages that are going for like $1,000.
Yeah.
But they're not ones from the Defenders. Yeah. So apparently, I don't know if it's Buscema collectors or Steve Gerber fans or perhaps Headman aficionados like myself, but those pages are not within my reach.
Well, you know, something to shoot for.
Well, that, and I had him check on Jack Kirby. Remember the Mad Bomb saga in Captain America and the Falcon?
Yeah.
I thought about maybe some of those because I loved those as a kid too.
I mean, what do you think? It's a Kirby page from one of the classic Captain America stories.
It is, and I say this with all admiration and respect for Kirby. That's not Kirby at his strongest.
Right.
You know, already in there and in the Eternals and in Devil Dinosaur, you start to see the line slanting a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe it'll be a little cheaper. No. If you can even find a page from the Mad Bomb saga, it's 5 digits. You know,
wow.
So.
Well, listen, with all the money we make off doing this show, Brian, you should be able to afford at least a stick figure drawing by me.
One panel. I can afford one panel.
Yeah. But no, not by those guys. Well, while we were talking, I did look it up. Shooter was 25 or 26 at the time. This came out in 1977. But he did start writing comics professionally at 14.
That's right.
Which is insane. Anyway. Listen, good luck on your quest. If anybody listening to this who wants to sell Brian, pages of those comics for a better price, reach out.
I mean, I do have some original. I have, Mike Hawthorne drew Mary and I as characters in a Conan comic book for Dark Horse. So I have the original of that. Keith Giffen gave me some originals, from an issue of Doom Patrol we did together and a Masters of the Universe that we did together. But those are things that I've worked on, or it's me. For nostalgia's sake, I really want a Sal Buscema Defenders 33 page. So if we have a wealthy benefactor out there who listens and you want to hook me up,
we'll give you a free ad in Defenders Dialogue in exchange for a $5,000 piece of artwork.
You get me a page with the elf with a gun, and I'll give you a year's worth of free ads of the break.
Oh, I thought you were going to promise a year's worth of something else.
A year's worth of Chris as your personal ally.
No. Well, I have to say, I have original artwork around, but all of the original artwork I have, pretty much, I think, is from projects I did work on, with the exception of the page from Tomb of Dracula 15 that I bought directly from Gene Colan the first time I met him at a convention, and that is the first comic book I ever bought myself.
And I'll tell you, I bet that Gene Colan artwork, Tomb of Dracula artwork, now probably goes for the same that Buscema's Defender stuff is going for.
Maybe, but I have to say I was sorely disappointed with when I looked up some of the, sort of more modern pages that Gene had done before he passed, and they were very inexpensive, and I was very shocked by that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think the Tomb of Dracula pages are probably worth a pretty penny these days, but that's never leaving my possession.
No.
In fact, I think Connie will have to bury me with it.
In her time of need, when she has a lot to think about, I want you to know, as one of my best friends, that I give you my vow, I will chip in to help Connie out. I will take that off her hands so that it's one less thing she has to think about.
Connie, I will handle the sale of this for you, and I will only take a 95% commission. All right. The Avengers.
So yeah, the Vision has an offer for Dr. Doom. He brings up the fact that Doom and Henry Kissinger have worked out the non-aggression pact between America and Latveria. And basically the Vision explains everything that's been happening throughout Supervillain Team Up and the Avengers.
Right. Well, and I think
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say what's the gist here for me, which I like, is the Vision basically says, yes, I was freed. And I purposely left the other Avengers behind because I know that they don't have the rational, logical minds. They'd be too emotional to make the deal with you, Dr. Doom, that I'm about to make, which is let's team up to take down Attuma, because Attuma has this guy, Tyrak, and he is using Tyrak the Treacherous, we should say, and he's using some kind of beam to continue to make Tyrak more and more powerful. And he's eventually going to take this method and use it on his entire armed force. At which point they will be powerful enough that Doom will not be able to stop them. So the Vision is basically saying, yeah, Doom, you're an ass and you captured us. However, you need our help because otherwise Attuma is going to be so powerful, even you will not be able to stand against him. And Doom agrees.
That's right. So, while Doom and the Vision go off to make plans, and, the Vision is in true Bronze Age angst, he's thinking about his love for Wanda and whether it's real and, because he's an android, et cetera, et cetera. We transition to Team B, Wonder Man, the Wizard, minus the Beast, who have now made peace with Namor. And, Namor is impressed by Wonder Man's strength.
Yeah. Well, as I am, we should say.
Yep. So they hop aboard Namor's craft and they go underwater in pursuit of Attuma and the Beast. And in fact, the Beast radios them from Attuma's craft,
where he is stowed away.
Yeah. He gives them a homing signal and, says, come and get me.
Right. So they're able to follow Attuma in that way. Then we cut to the Avengers having their slave collars removed. And I want to say, too, Brian, that this issue is such it's a vital issue in the history of both the Vision and Wonder Man and the relationship of the Vision and the Scarlet Witch, because we're seeing that more and more, and it really comes to a head here, the Vision has been brooding because here we have Wonder Man alive, Simon Williams, and the Vision's like, well, if my mind is a copy of him, am I even really a person? Do I have any reason to exist? Am I just sort of like an afterthought? It's like basically if you have the original painting hanging in the Louvre, but you have a print hanging on your house at home that cost you $40, is the Vision just that print?
Right.
And so he's just brooding on that like a CW character.
Right. While he's brooding, we get the battle of the egos between Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark. Tony says, the Atlantic's a big place, Doom. How do you propose to pinpoint Attuma's ship? And as Doom points out, quite fortunately, he too has the ability to track Attuma.
Yeah. And I do like this because Stark has to admit that there's a thing that Doom has realized that he has not.
Right.
And I feel like now, if you're Doom in this scenario, Brian, who is your Stark? I mean, or is this just two facets of the same Brian Keene minted?
Yeah, this is Brian before coffee and after coffee, really. If Mary was awake, she'd vouch for that. Before I've had my coffee, I'm Dr. Doom, and after I've had my coffee, I'm a little more Iron Man,
Oh, well, then the Beast on Attuma's flagship is discovered by the soldiers. They attack and knock him out. We have, the Submariner and Team B, well, Submariner, the Wizard, and Wonder Man arrive at Attuma's, in the ocean. I'm not saying this right, Brian. They hover over the ocean, and the Submariner and Wonder Man dive in to swim down to attack Attuma.
Right.
They are made short work of by, the Submariner is made short work of by Tyrak the Treacherous.
That's right. And you'll remember from last week's episode, Tyrak is seemingly stronger than most Atlanteans. He's basically the Atlantean version of Captain America. Attuma has his own Atlantean version of the super soldier formula. Right. And he intends to make a lot more Tyraks.
Right. And now he's just pounding Tyrak with this energy that is making him larger and stronger so that he'll be able to defeat even more characters, which is good because more characters are arriving in the form of Team A of the Avengers.
That's right.
Who then they arrive at Attuma's base, they infiltrate, there's a battle. My favorite moment in the battle is when the Vision is giving a soliloquy while phasing himself to become less dense so the two Atlantean soldiers shoot at one another through him.
Yes.
Which surely in the moment he's tricking them into doing this instant flicker of a moment in which he's doing this, he's got loads of time to give a soliloquy.
You know what I found very telling about this battle We get Tony shouting "Charge" and "Let's get 'em." And we get Captain America saying "Avengers attack," but there's no Avengers assemble.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder why that is.
I don't know. So anyway, the combined might of Wonder Man and the Vision defeat Tyrak. They simultaneously strike as one, their fists as tightly synchronized as if guided by the same mind. Indeed, in many ways, they were. And it works. They take down Tyrak.
Yeah. And that is a great moment because, again, that's what I was saying is like for these characters, this is an essential moment.
Yep.
They synchronize by instinct and they take him out. And then my favorite moment in this issue is when the Vision, who now is doubting whether he has any humanity, gives in to the human emotion of anger and goes and rips his cloak away from Attuma. He's like, you little shit, I'm taking my fucking cloak. Yeah. So then they go and they realize that, wait a minute, the doohickey, the MacGuffin, is missing. The thing that he was using to make Tyrak into this undefeatable creature has been taken by none other than Brian Keene. Oh, I'm sorry, by Dr. Doom.
That's right. As Namor, makes short work of Attuma, beneath Hydrobase, Dr. Doom is carrying this thing. Namorita and Tamara are in pursuit. They're like, hey, what are you up to? Where are the Avengers? And Doom says, oh, well, they're probably dead, wench. A fate your insolence has earned you. I shall spare you this time. Backhands them both. And then we get, Doom's plan here. He says the U.S. government scientists who invented this device did so by accident. They did not comprehend the potential of its cell-stimulating rays, much less the principle behind them. But I, Doom, shall dismantle this machine, analyze it, discover its secret. Take it, Chris.
And rule the world, says the Beast, mocking him as the Avengers all come in through the handily located, gigantic archway window. Because that is where you would take your stolen apparatus to a place that could be, easily accessed by virtually anyone. My other thing though, Brian, is I must confess that I did have a moment here where I wondered if what this was leading to was that Doom's intention was that he could use this apparatus to cure the amphibious people at Hydrobase.
Well, I think that was part of his plan, probably.
But it's not. It's implied that it's actually no. He's just being a bad guy here, right? He's got some malicious plan to rule the world. But I thought that the twist was going to be that the Avengers stop him and the thing gets destroyed. And all along, he was intending to keep his word to the amphibious people of Hydrobase and cure them.
Yeah.
That is not the case.
No, it's not the case. But at least that we, the reader, know. But as the Vision destroys the machine, Doom swears revenge upon him and then escapes.
Yeah. Once the machine is destroyed, there's no point in Doom fighting, 10 Avengers. So he makes his escape. And then we see the Vision continuing to brood. And Wanda says, talk to me. Tell me what's wrong. And in the great words of Greta Garbo, I think it was Garbo, he says, I want to be alone. So yeah, and now we see the beginning of the next phase. Now we're not going to get to it on this show, but we see all the seeds laid for what's to come here because she's broken up because she can't reach the Vision. She can't get through to him, and he's, basically giving her the cold shoulder, freezing her out. And who's there, Brian? to comfort her?
Wonder Man.
Wonder Man, Simon Williams, whose mind is the template for the Vision. And that, of course, will eventually lead to this love triangle, which is it's a great story in the Avengers.
That's right.
And so I still hold out hope that Simon Williams will eventually show up maybe in this WandaVision TV show.
Wasn't there, if I'm remembering this correctly, I can't remember the actor's name, but wasn't there an actor cast to play Simon Williams, the actor, in some kind of bit part?
Yeah, there was a rumor that it was going to be Nathan Fillion.
Yeah, Nathan Fillion, that's it. But then they did away with it or something.
Yeah, it was not included, and I actually that if they had done that bit with Nathan Fillion, they wouldn't have been able to do the story with the Vision and Ultron and Wonder Man and all of that. So I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, because then now there's still some possibility that if they wanted to, they could do that story.
Right.
Yeah. So there you go.
Well, next week, folks, supervillain team up. So far, it has been Dr. Doom and the Submariner. Next week, we cover issues 10 and 11. The Submariner is still on hand, but these are going to be his last appearances in the book. A new supervillain is going to be teaming up with Doom throughout the remainder of the series. And Chris, who is that villain?
It is the villain known to comic book readers and in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's the Red Skull.
That's right. That's right.
And in addition, we will see the return of our much beloved Shroud.
That's right. As well as the Avengers. The Avengers will be back as well. So tune in next week. Supervillain Team Up issues 10 and 11. Chris, send us home.
Excelsior, true believers!
For nearly 30 years, Comics Connection has served as Central Pennsylvania's pop culture mecca, with locations in York and Mechanicsburg. But now, you don't have to live in Pennsylvania to shop there. The brand new Comics Connection online store features a wide variety of back issues, graphic novels, games, and much more. Find out why thousands of customers, including such celebrities as Mike Hawthorne, J.F. Gonzalez, Mary San Giovanni, and Brian Keene, have made Comics Connection their #1 store to shop at over the years. Check out the new online store at comicsconnection.com. That's COMIX connection.com.
Defenders Dialogue is a production of the Brian Keene Radio Network. You can listen to this episode and all previous episodes for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play Music, and wherever else podcasts are available. Defenders Dialogue is written and produced by Brian Keene and Christopher Golden. Our theme music is by Xander Harris. Our engineer is Matt Wilderson. Check out his books on Amazon.com. If you enjoyed this show, you might enjoy our other podcasts, The Horror Show with Brian Keene, Cosmic Shenanigans, and Grindcast. To advertise on Defenders Dialogue, visit briankeene.com and click Podcasts.